For decades, the world operated under a simple assumption. Countries would manufacture where costs were lowest, companies would sell products everywhere, technology would spread globally, and everyone would become more interconnected. But this week, four different stories suggested that era may be ending. Europe is increasingly worried about a new wave of Chinese exports. European leaders are also demanding checks on America's growing dominance in artificial intelligence. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang says AI could bring manufacturing jobs back, and Johnson & Johnson is planning tens of billions of dollars of investment inside the United States. At first, these seem like unrelated headlines. One is about China, one is about AI, and one is about manufacturing, and one is about corporate investment. But together, they point to something much bigger. The world may be entering an age where countries care less about efficiency and more about control, and that could reshape trade, technology, and the jobs for the next decade. The biggest story this week came from the G7 summit. Leaders are increasingly worried about what some economists are calling China Shock 2.0. Many viewers hear that phrase and immediately ask, what exactly does it mean? The original China shock refers to the period when China rise as a manufacturing powerhouse flooded global markets with inexpensive goods. Consumers benefited from lower prices, but many industries in Europe and North America struggled to compete. Now, policymakers fear something similar could happen again. China has built enormous industrial capacity in sectors ranging from electric vehicles to batteries, solar equipment, and advanced manufacturing. As demand inside China slows, more products may be exported abroad. Europe worries that its own manufacturers could face intense pressure from lower cost Chinese competition. This is why the issue has reached the G7 because it is no longer just a business story, it is becoming a strategic question. Countries are asking how much dependence on foreign manufacturing is too much and what industries must be protected at home. At the same time, summit, another conflict was becoming visible. This time, not over factories but over AI. When most people hear about AI, they say think about chatbots, productivity tools, or whether jobs will disappear. But governments increasingly see AI differently. They see it as infrastructure, similar to electricity, similar to the internet, and similar to the oil during the industrial age. European leaders are becoming concerned that the most powerful AI companies are overwhelmingly American. That creates a question many viewers are already asking. Why does that matter? Because whoever controls the technology platform often gains economic influence as well. The companies building advanced AI systems today could shape future industries, future jobs, and future productivity growth. Europe does not want to become completely dependent on foreign AI systems, just as it does not want to become completely dependent on foreign manufacturing. Notice the pattern. The manufacturing debate and the AI debate are actually asking the same question: who controls the foundation of the future economy? Now, this is where the third story becomes important. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang made a prediction that surprised many people. He argued that AI can actually increase manufacturing jobs. At first glance, that sounds backwards. Most people hear AI and assume fewer workers will be needed. But Huang's argument is different. He believes AI can make factories more productive, more efficient, and more competitive. If production becomes more attractive inside countries like United States, companies may choose to build more facilities domestically. In other words, AI may not simply automate jobs, it may help bring certain industries back. This is a major test of a larger idea spreading across developed economies. Can technology make local manufacturing economically viable again? The question will become increasingly important over the next few years because many governments are now investing heavily in industrial capacity. And that's exactly why the Johnson & Johnson story matters. The company announced plans for the massive investment in the US. To many viewers, that might seem like a routine corporate announcement, but it reflects a larger trend. Businesses are increasingly making investment decisions based on more than just cost. They are considering supply chain security, political stability, and access to the technology, and importantly, the government incentives and long term strategic positioning. The result is that more capital is flowing toward domestic production and regional supply chains, not because globalization is disappearing, but because resilience is becoming almost as important as efficiency. So this is the connection between all four stories: China exports, Europe's AI concerns, Nvidia's manufacturing vision, and Johnson & Johnson investment plans. They all are the signs of the same transition. For decades, the world optimized for efficiency. Now it is increasingly optimizing for security, control, and self sufficiency. Countries want their own manufacturing, their own technology, their own supply chains, their own strategic advantages. The global economy isn't necessarily breaking apart, but it may be reorganizing into competing economic blocs. And that could become one of the defining business stories of the next decade. The biggest question isn't whether China, America, or Europe wins. The bigger question is whether the world can remain interconnected while major powers increasingly compete for economic control. Because the future may not be defined by one global economy, it may be defined by several powerful economic ecosystems competing alongside one another. And if that's true, we are not just watching a trade story, we are watching the rules of globalization being rewritten. So here's the question: 10 years from now, what will matter more, global efficiency or national economic security?